Just picture this. I showed up to my own daughter's wedding, the same daughter I'd spent my entire life raising and supporting. And yet, she looked me dead in the eye and said coldly, "Dad, I'm sorry, but you weren't invited. Please leave." I didn't argue. I simply turned around and walked away, carrying with me the kind of heartbreak only betrayal can bring. But what she didn't know was that in less than 2 hours, the dream wedding she thought she was having would unravel completely. Was it revenge? No. I like to think of it as justice finally catching up. The champagne glass slipped from my hand, shattering against the marble floor, shards sparkling like fallen stars. Each broken piece seemed to mirror the horror on my daughter Chloe's face. "Dad, what are you doing here?" she snapped, her voice cutting through the hum of the wedding chatter. Her white wedding gown, yes, the very one I had shelled out $17,000 for, rustled as she stepped back. "You weren't supposed to come." I stood frozen at the entrance of that grand ballroom, a wrapped gift box still in my hands. The place reeked of wealth. White roses flown in from Ecuador filled every corner, their perfume clashing with the heavy cologne and judgment hanging in the air. The chandelier overhead spilled rainbow light across walls I had spent 3 months of my company's profit just to rent out. "Sweetheart, it's your wedding day," I said, my voice quieter than I'd meant it to be. "I only came to congratulate you both." That's when Hudson, her groom, slid in beside her. His tuxedo was sharp, his smile even sharper. "Mr. Miller, I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?" I asked, scanning Chloe's face for the little girl who once begged me to push her higher on the swings at the park. Chloe avoided my eyes, glancing nervously at the guests staring at us. Women in glittering gowns whispered behind their crystal flutes of champagne. Men in tailored suits pretended to ignore the scene, but their ears were tuned to every word. "This is a private family celebration," she said stiffly, her voice tight with embarrassment. "Immediate family only." Those 4 words hit me harder than a punch. 28 years of bedtime stories, school plays, and dance recitals. All of it seemed to collapse in that single moment. Nearly 3 decades of putting her happiness above my own comfort, of funding her education instead of saving for retirement. "I paid for this wedding, Chloe," I said evenly. "Every flower, every plate, even the dress you're standing in." Hudson's jaw clenched. "Money doesn't buy class, sir." Chloe nodded faintly, still not meeting my eyes. "Hudson's right. This isn't about money. It's about belonging. You don't understand the kind of people who are here." But I understood perfectly. Men like me, the ones who built their houses, laid their foundations, poured their driveways, weren't welcome at their parties. I had played my role, sacrificed everything, and now I was nothing more than an embarrassment. The room went silent. Even the photographer lowered his camera. The string quartet kept playing, clueless to the storm building in the middle of their stage. "I see," I said, carefully setting the gift box on a nearby table crowded with champagne and orchids. "I wouldn't want to embarrass you." "Dad, please," Chloe whispered. "Don't make this harder than it has to be." I studied her face one last time. The green eyes she'd gotten from her mother, now cold as stones. The smile I'd once worked overtime to afford braces for, now turned away from me. "You're right," I said quietly. "I don't belong here." The walk to the exit felt endless. Behind me, heels clicked on marble, whispers swelled again, and someone gave a high-pitched laugh that sounded fake enough to sting. My work boots, polished just for this occasion, felt heavy against the pristine floor. Outside, the spring air hit me like a release. The parking lot gleamed with cars worth more than most people's houses. My old pickup sat alone in the corner, perfectly in place, just like me in their world. I reached for my phone. My hands were steady. 25 years of running a business from scratch had taught me patience. 25 years of raising a daughter who no longer wanted me had taught me the meaning of loyalty. The screen lit up with missed calls from my lawyer about a property dispute. I scrolled past them to find a different contact, one I hadn't dialed in months, but now desperately needed. First National Bank Business Services. Inside that ballroom, my daughter celebrated a new life without me. Outside, I was about to start mine without her. I pressed call. The phone rang once before a voice answered. "First National, this is Jessica. How may I help you today?" "Jessica, this is David Miller, account number 731-5812. I need to stop several payments immediately." "Of course, Mr. Miller." Can you verify your information? I rattled it off without hesitation, watching through the glass doors as more guests strutted inside, fixing cufflinks and smoothing silk dresses, not knowing the floor beneath them was already beginning to crack. I see multiple large transactions from today. Which payments would you like to stop? She asked. Every single one tied to that wedding, I replied. The venue, the catering, the flowers, the photographer, the music. All of it. Sir, those are significant amounts. Are you absolutely sure? I've never been more sure of anything. There was a pause, then the sound of her typing. I'll need the authorization codes for anything above 10,000. I recited them from memory. 2 decades in construction had drilled every important number into my head. Done. All stop payments are in effect. You'll receive confirmation numbers shortly. Is there anything else I can help you with? No, I said firmly. That takes care of the banking side. Thank you, Jessica, I said before ending the call with the bank. Then I scrolled down to the next number on my list. Spokane's most expensive caterers, the very company Chloe had insisted on hiring despite their outrageous prices. The line clicked. Elegant Affairs Catering, this is Robert. Robert, this is David Miller. I'm calling about the Williams wedding reception happening right now. Ah yes, Mr. Miller. Everything's going wonderfully. The guests are raving about the appetizers. I'm afraid that won't last, I cut in. There's been a financial complication. Payment authorization has been revoked. You might want to secure your equipment and whatever food you can. The other end went quiet, like someone had hit mute. Finally, Robert spoke. I'm sorry, what exactly are you saying? The bank has stopped payment on your contract, effective immediately. If you want to salvage anything, I'd suggest moving quickly. But we're in the middle of service. The main course hasn't even been served yet. Unfortunate timing, I replied, keeping my tone calm and businesslike. You should probably talk with the wedding party about alternate arrangements. A pause. Then the line went dead. Smart man. The florist answered on the second ring. Bellingham Blooms, Victoria speaking. Victoria, this is David Miller regarding the Williams wedding flowers. Oh, Mr. Miller, the arrangements look beautiful. The bride was thrilled with the orchids. There's been a payment issue, I interrupted. Bank authorization has been canceled. If you'd like to recover your property, I suggest you collect your arrangements now. Collect them? But they're integrated into the entire venue design. Business is business, Victoria. Move quickly if you want to save them. Her line went silent too, but I knew she'd be on her way. 3 more calls followed, photography, the string quartet, even the linen rental company. Each conversation followed the same rhythm. Professional greetings, alarms spreading as I explained the situation, then hurried disconnections as they scrambled to protect themselves. By the time I hung up from the last one, the dashboard clock read 4:05 p.m. Through the windshield, I spotted a white catering van pulling up to the service entrance. Robert, no doubt, coming to salvage what he could. Meanwhile, inside the ballroom, Chloe was likely still glowing in her silk and pearls, greeting guests as if everything was perfect. Hudson was probably across the room bragging about his latest deal to his father's friends, still convinced he was above men like me. Neither of them had the faintest clue what was heading their way. I started the engine and eased the truck out of the parking space, rolling past the venue's front entrance. Through tall windows, I could see crystal glasses lifted in toasts and elegant figures moving across the polished floor. Their fantasy world was still intact, for now. My phone buzzed. Chloe's number flashed on the screen. I let it ring. The clock read 4:12 p.m. when the first florist van arrived. Bellingham Blooms painted across the side in fancy script. Sure enough, Victoria was behind the wheel, with 2 assistants riding shotgun. They parked near the service entrance and unloaded empty plastic containers with military precision. From the truck, I could see straight into the cocktail reception. Guests laughed, champagne glinting under chandeliers, orchids blooming on every table. Hudson gestured to his circle of suited friends, probably bragging about some venture. Chloe, radiant in her $17,000 dress, was busy shaking hands and laughing brightly, completely unaware that the ground beneath her was about to collapse. Victoria appeared in the ballroom doorway holding a plastic container. Her assistants followed, heading straight for the main altar arrangement. Guests began noticing. Confusion rippled through the room as the team started dismantling the flowers. "Excuse me." Chloe said with a practiced smile, the one she used to manage people. We're in the middle of our reception. Whatever you need can wait. Victoria straightened, clutching a bundle of orchids. Ma'am, I'm Victoria from Bellingham Blooms. Payment authorization for these arrangements was canceled 40 minutes ago. I'm here to recover company property. Chloe's smile wavered. That's impossible. Everything was paid weeks ago. Victoria shook her head. The account holder, David Miller, contacted us directly. All payments were stopped. I have written authorization to collect our arrangements. Color drained from Chloe's face. The chatter in the room died. Hudson stormed across the floor, his expression hardening. What's going on here? His voice carried the weight of someone who wasn't used to being challenged. Payment issues, sir, Victoria said firmly. We're here to recover unpaid merchandise. One of her assistants began wrapping the altar flowers in protective plastic. Hudson's face turned red. This is unacceptable. Get your manager on the phone right now. I am the manager, Victoria replied, unfazed. Our contract is clear. When payments are canceled, services are void. She nodded, and her team began gathering centerpieces as guests stared in stunned silence. At that moment, Elegant Affairs catering van rolled up to the front entrance. Robert and 3 staff walked straight through the main doors this time, not even trying to hide their mission. Chloe's composure cracked as she watched her orchids vanish into plastic bins. There has to be some mistake. My father wouldn't. He couldn't. Robert approached her with a clipboard. Ma'am, we need to cease food service immediately. Payment authorization was revoked at 4:05. We're contractually obligated to secure our equipment and inventory. Hudson stepped in front of Chloe, his voice rising with outrage. This is my wedding reception. You can't just stop in the middle of service. Robert didn't flinch. Sir, we can and we must. Standard procedure requires immediate asset protection when payments are canceled. He raised a hand, and his team began covering the serving stations with white cloths. Guests shifted uneasily, their champagne flutes suspended midair, no one daring to take another sip. Conversations dropped to whispers, the kind that carried more tension than volume. Somewhere, a phone rang, sharp, intrusive, completely out of place in the unraveling silence. The string quartet, who'd been sawing away politely in the background, stopped cold when their equipment manager appeared. One by one, microphones went dead. Speakers powered down. Even the lighting dimmed as the sound technician unplugged his board. And there she stood, my daughter, in the very center of her wedding, wrapped in $12,000 worth of silk and pearls, staring around her like the walls of her fairy tale had just been pulled down by hand. This can't be happening. Not today. Not like this. I could almost hear her thinking. Hudson turned on her, suspicion replacing his earlier arrogance. Chloe, what kind of arrangement did your family make? Her voice cracked, raw panic starting to bleed through. I don't know. Everything was supposed to be handled. The venue coordinator appeared, phone pressed to her ear, face tight. She approached Chloe with the kind of reluctance people have when they're about to deliver news no one wants to hear. Mrs. Williams, I just spoke with our accounting department. Every payment for today's event came from one account, David Miller's. That account holder has revoked authorization. Every single transaction. I didn't need to be in the room to know the effect. That was the moment her composure broke completely. My little girl, the one who once begged me to read just one more story at bedtime, was finally realizing the depth of her father's generosity and how badly she had squandered it. I watched through the windshield as she pulled out her phone, her hands trembling. She scrolled desperately, then pressed call. Inside my truck, the phone buzzed against the dashboard. Chloe's name lit up the screen. Through the glass doors, I saw her silhouette in the entryway. Phone pressed to her ear, pleading silently for me to pick up. I didn't answer. Not yet. 25 years of pouring my life into hers had led to this moment. 25 years of believing that sacrifice built character, when in her case, it had built entitlement. She was only 3 when her mother, Maria, died. Cancer ripped through her in 6 brutal months, leaving me with a toddler who woke up every morning asking, "Where's Mommy?" and cried herself to sleep every night with the same question. I could have remarried quickly, found someone to shoulder the load. But I didn't. I chose to be everything for Chloe myself. At 5 years old, she curled against my chest in pink pajamas and whispered, "Daddy, will you read me another story?" I'd already read 3, and I had an early meeting with investors the next morning. But those green eyes, Maria's eyes, looked at me with so much trust. Of course, sweetheart, Daddy always has time for you. That became my motto. David Miller always had time for Chloe. And money. And sacrifice. Whatever she needed, I found a way to provide. When she turned 8, I drained half my profits just to send her to private school. The best education money can buy, I told myself, even if it meant smaller budgets and slower business growth. I still remember the way she hugged me when I told her about Riverside Academy. Thank you, Daddy. I'll study really hard and make you proud. And she did. Straight A's, school plays where I sat front row, clapping louder than anyone. Afterward, she'd beam. Did you see me remember all my lines, Daddy? I was thinking of you the whole time. But high school changed things. Riverside meant wealthy classmates with trust funds and summer homes. That's when Chloe started noticing the differences. Her 16th birthday, the party cost more than some folks' yearly salaries. When I gave her a Honda, she wrinkled her nose. Everyone else got BMWs, Dad. This is kind of embarrassing. That was 2015, the first time money stopped being appreciated and started being expected. I should have seen the warning. College nearly bankrupted me. Northwestern was her dream school, and I made it happen. Tuition, sorority dues, study abroad in Italy, spring break in Cancun. Every semester, a new demand. Dad, I need $4,500 for the business fraternity trip. It's essential for networking. Her phone calls became transaction requests. Her visits home? Down to holidays only. And even then, the conversations never lasted longer than it took to explain how much she needed and when she needed it. Grad school brought Hudson into the picture. Old money, family ties, everything I couldn't give her, no matter how hard I worked. And that's when Chloe began apologizing for me. Could you maybe not wear those work boots when you visit? Hudson's friends will be there. The same girl who once begged for bedtime stories was now ashamed of the man who built her world with calloused hands. My construction business, 50 employees, decades of sweat, wasn't success to her crowd. To them, I was just a small business owner. Last Christmas, she introduced me to Hudson's parents that way. This is my father. He runs a small business. 25 years of sacrifice, stripped down to 2 words. The wedding planning was worse. Meetings felt like negotiations. Chloe brought spreadsheets. Hudson talked cost efficiency. Neither acknowledged that every flower and every glass of champagne represented months of my labor. Ecuadorian orchids. Champagne that cost more per bottle than my men earned in a day. A dress worth more than rent for an entire apartment. This isn't about money, Dad, Chloe had said, her voice sharp. It's about quality. Hudson's family knows quality. Quality my money paid for. Quality my presence diminished. That's when it hit me. The very success that made their dream wedding possible also made me unworthy of attending it. My phone buzzed again, Chloe's 3rd attempt in 5 minutes. Through the tall windows, I saw her pacing, her gown dragging like a flag of surrender. 25 years of sacrifice had created this moment. Not a grateful daughter honoring her father, but a desperate woman finally realizing what she had lost. The irony hit me square in the chest. The same love that had spoiled my daughter rotten was now about to teach her its real worth. I finally reached for the phone. Time to stop letting it buzz. The engine purred softly as I steered out of the parking lot, and in my rearview mirror, Chloe's frantic silhouette grew smaller and smaller. Her glowing phone lit up the dusk like a flare, her name appearing for the 7th time in less than 10 minutes. Each ring wasn't her control anymore. It was mine. The drive home stretched 20 minutes through Spokane's Saturday night traffic, 20 minutes of watching her name flash again and again across my screen. Each call sounded more desperate than the last. By the time I pulled into my driveway, she'd left 4 voicemails waiting for me. I sat in the garage, engine off, doors sliding down behind me like a curtain at the end of an act, and I pressed play. Voicemail 1. Dad, something's wrong with the payments. There's been a mistake. Call me back immediately. Voicemail 2. This isn't funny anymore. The vendors are taking everything. People are staring. Just call me back. Voicemail 3. Please, Dad. I don't understand what's happening. Hudson's family is asking questions I can't answer. Voicemail 4. Her voice cracking now. I need you. Please pick up, please. Before the recording even ended, my phone lit up again. Chloe's name. Her graduation photo popped up, The last time she'd hugged me without needing a wire transfer first. I let it ring 5 times before answering. Hello, Chloe. Dad. Finally. What have you done? How could you destroy my wedding? Her voice was stripped bare now. No more polished dismissals, no superiority, just pure panic. And that was good. Panic meant she was finally aware, and awareness was the first step toward understanding. I didn't destroy anything, I told her calmly. I simply stopped paying for things. You can't just stop. This is my wedding day. There are 60 people here asking why the flowers are gone, why dinner service stopped. Where are you calling from? The hotel. We had to. The coordinator said we couldn't stay unless bills were settled. We were asked to leave. The hollow echo in her voice told me she was telling the truth. No music. No celebration. Just bare walls. Chloe, listen carefully. When was the last time you thanked me for anything? What? Dad, this isn't the time for lectures. I need you to call these vendors and fix this mess. Answer the question. When was the last time you expressed real gratitude for what I've done financially? Silence. I could hear Hudson's sharp voice snapping in the background. Finally, she stammered. I don't remember exactly, but I've always been grateful. You know that? No, Chloe. I don't know that. What I do know is that 3 hours ago, you told me I didn't belong at your wedding. A wedding I paid for in full. I didn't mean it like that. I was stressed, okay? Nerves. Dad, please. I'll make this up to you later. Right now, I need you to authorize the payments so we can save what's left of the reception. What's left? I asked. The cake's still here. Some guests are waiting. The photographer's hanging around, hoping we can work something out. And how exactly do you plan to pay for that? Another pause, longer this time. I thought you would handle it. You always handle it. That's true, I said evenly. I always have. Do you know how much I've spent on you over the last 25 years? Dad, don't make me guess numbers right now. I'm in crisis mode. Take a guess. I don't know, maybe 50,000? I almost laughed. 50,000 wouldn't have covered your sophomore year at Northwestern. Chloe, I've spent over $300,000 on your education, housing, transportation, and lifestyle since your mother died. And that doesn't even count today. The line went quiet except for her breathing. 300, that can't be right. It's a conservative figure. I have receipts for every cent. Why are you telling me this now? Because you never asked. In 25 years, not once have you asked about the cost of your life, or cared about the weight it put on me. Burden? I'm your daughter. Yes, you are. And I loved you enough to sacrifice everything for your happiness. The question is, Chloe, what have you ever sacrificed for mine? I heard Hudson's voice rising behind her, muffled arguing. She came back, shaken. Dad, Hudson's family is furious. They're asking how we're going to pay for this. That's between you and your husband. But I don't have that kind of money. You know I don't. Then maybe it's time you learn how to earn it. The silence that followed was nearly half a minute long. Finally, what do you want from me? I want you to understand what you threw away this afternoon when you told me I didn't belong. I want you to recognize what it cost to make your life possible. I understand now. I was wrong. Please, can we fix this? We'll see. I'll be reviewing our entire financial history. Every dollar. We'll discuss it when I'm ready. And with that, I hung up and shut off my phone. Through my kitchen window, I could see Spokane's lights twinkling in the distance. Somewhere out there, Chloe was spending her first night in the real world, financially independent at last. The lesson had only just begun. Warm light from the desk lamp stretched shadows across the filing cabinets in my office. 25 years of records, every sacrifice, every choice, neatly stored, waiting for their purpose. Tonight, they would finally serve it. I poured coffee, steam curling into the quiet house, and slid open the drawer labeled Chloe, Education 2020. Behind me, the house creaked into its nightly rhythm. In front of me, my hands worked with the same steady precision that had built Miller Construction from scratch into a 60-employee company. This wasn't revenge. This was an audit. First folder, Riverside Academy. 12 years of tuition. Every payment logged with reports attached. $8,000 a year in 2008, climbing to $12,000 by her graduation. $126,000. And that was just the beginning. I opened a new spreadsheet, fingers tapping out numbers almost automatically. Column headers filled the screen: date, description, amount, category, running total. 25 years of fatherhood boiled down to spreadsheets, data points, and formulas. The Northwestern University folder was next. It was so thick it barely shut, swollen with dorm contracts, meal plan agreements, study abroad invoices. Tuition alone? $52,000 a year, for years straight. Add in room and board, another $15,000 annually. Spring break in Cancun junior year cost $3,500. That summer in Italy, during her art history phase, ran me $8,200. Essential for my education, Dad, she'd insisted. This is how people in my program network. Page after page, receipt after receipt, the numbers stacked higher and higher until the final total hit me in the gut. $297,000. 4 years of college, costing more than most people earned in 5 years of hard labor. The transportation folder had its own story to tell. Chloe's first car at 16, a reliable Honda Civic for 18 grand. Within 6 months, she was complaining. Everyone else drives BMWs. So, at 19, I upgraded her to a BMW 330i, $31,000. At 25, another BMW, this time an X3 because Hudson's friends all had luxury SUVs. Each car brought insurance premiums, registration fees, and maintenance costs that Chloe never once considered. Those hidden expenses? Fathers like me shouldered them in silence. My phone buzzed. Chloe again. I let it ring, adding another line to my spreadsheet. iPhone 14 Pro Max, $1,095. The technology and living expenses folder was the darkest rabbit hole. Post-graduation apartment in Lincoln Park, $2,950 a month for 3 years. Credit card balances I covered when her spending went past the generous allowance I already gave her. Average bailouts? Around $1,400 a month for 2 solid years. Designer clothing. Spa treatments. Vacations with friends who lived on the same parental gravy train. The totals climbed like compound interest. Education, $420,000. Transportation, $80,000. Housing, $132,000. Personal expenses, $195,000. Wedding, $155,000. The calculator glowed, $982,000. Nearly $1 million. All of it given gradually over a quarter century, each payment small enough to rationalize. Private school was an investment, college opened doors, a safe car protected her, nice clothes built confidence, and the wedding celebrated love. But when laid out together, the truth was brutal. Chloe had never contributed a dime, never kept a job longer than half a year, never once asked what this cost me, or thanked me for what it took. I pulled out the photo albums. Chloe at 8, gap-toothed and beaming after her first school play. Thank you for coming, Daddy. Did you hear how loud everyone clapped? Chloe at 12, holding her spelling bee trophy. I thought about you when I got nervous. It helped me remember the words. When had that stopped? When had I gone from being her hero to nothing more than her bank account? My phone rang again. 14th call since our conversation ended. This time, she left a voicemail. Dad, please answer. I've been thinking about what you said. I know I haven't been grateful. I know I've taken you for granted. Hudson's family is threatening to walk out if we can't explain the money situation. I need to know what you want from me. What I wanted was 25 years of thanks, something that would never come. What I needed was proof that Chloe finally understood the cost of her life. I printed the summary spreadsheet and sorted the manila folders: education, transportation, housing, personal expenses, wedding. Each one a ledger of love turned sacrifice, measured in dollars. Tomorrow would bring the hard part, conversations about responsibility, accountability, and the price of entitlement. Tonight was for building the case. The folders covered my desk like evidence laid out for trial. Nearly $1 million given freely, met only with entitlement and dismissal. Chloe had lived like a queen while treating the man who funded it like a servant. That would end. My phone buzzed again. Chloe's name. I reached for it, then pulled my hand back. Not yet. Let her sit with the helplessness, feel the panic of a world without guarantees. Her education wasn't finished, it had barely started. Sunday morning arrived sharp and clear, March air crisp with purpose. My briefcase waited by the door, packed with 25 years of documentation. Montgomery and Associates had agreed to see me at 9 on the dot. Professional courtesy between businessmen who knew some matters couldn't wait until Monday. Their office was all gravitas, mahogany walls, shelves lined with leather-bound volumes, certificates of decades of victories. Alice Montgomery herself ushered me into a conference room. Silver hair, sharp suit, voice that cut straight through. Exactly the kind of competence I needed. "Mr. Miller," she said, scanning my folders with practiced speed. "I've reviewed the preliminary documentation. Your record-keeping is exceptional." She spread the papers across the polished table, tallying years of my sacrifice into one brutal conclusion. Nearly $1 million. Substantial, even for us. "I want this handled professionally," I told her, settling into the leather chair. "No emotion, just business. Chloe needs to face the financial reality of what she's taken for granted." Alice nodded, jotting notes on a yellow legal pad. "We can pursue reclassification of gifts or establish promissory notes. Given the pattern of escalating demands without accountability, recovery options are strong." She laid out the plan with surgical precision. A formal demand letter, itemized accounting with supporting evidence, a clear response timeline, and legal consequences if ignored. This turns a family dispute into a business matter. Much cleaner. By 11, the papers were ready. Letterhead sharp, language formal, implications serious. The demand was simple: $937,000 repayment within 30 days, or legal proceedings would begin. "Courier delivery this afternoon," Alice assured me. The courier had asked for a signature, which turned the delivery into an official record. I drove back home with copies of every single document, a strange mix of relief and sadness sitting with me. The relief of taking action, the sadness that it had come to this point. Chloe had built this mess herself, year after year of entitlement and taking without consequence. All I was doing now was finally handing her the bill she'd avoided her entire life. At exactly 2:10 in the afternoon, my phone rang. It was the courier company confirming that the package had been signed for at the Spokane Grand Hotel, room 1247. The signature read, "Chloe Miller Williams." The process was officially underway. I pictured the scene unfolding in that hotel. Chloe probably thought the front desk clerk was handing her routine paperwork, maybe something from a wedding vendor. Hudson, ever the self-appointed man in charge, would have broken the seal with that smug confidence of his. Only when his eyes moved across the pages would reality start to sink in, slowly, like cold water seeping under a closed door. By 2:47, my phone was lighting up with call after call, Chloe's name flashing across the screen. I let each one slide into voicemail, the tone of her messages shifting from confusion to panic with every attempt. Message 1. "Dad, what is this? A legal document? It has to be a mistake." Message 2. "900,000? That's insane. You never said these were loans." Message 3. "Please, call me back. Hudson's family is demanding answers I don't have." Message 4. Her voice cracking. "I don't understand. How did everything fall apart so quickly?" At the Grand Hotel, Chloe and Hudson were getting their first taste of accountability backed by legal teeth. 25 years of gifts had now been reclassified as recoverable debt. The dependency they'd always relied on was no longer vague. It was written down, calculated, and subject to collection. The wedding fiasco had only been the warm-up. This was the real show. Alice had explained the system to me clearly. Civil debt recovery is a straightforward process: legal filings, deadlines, representation. If they wanted to respond properly, they'd need a lawyer. And hiring a lawyer costs money. Money they didn't have for a debt they couldn't pay. Chloe's frantic calls kept coming all afternoon. 15 missed calls, 8 voicemails, each one sounding more desperate than the last. The same daughter who had banned me from her wedding was now beginning to grasp the cost of cutting me off. The irony couldn't have been clearer. Chloe had treated my financial support like an endless fountain for 25 years. Now the rules had changed. 30 days to repay every dollar or face professional consequences. My phone buzzed again. Her 16th call. This time, I picked it up. "Dad, please," she said, her voice hoarse, panic replaced by exhaustion. "We need to talk like adults. This document, it can't be real." I leaned back in my kitchen chair, coffee steaming beside me. Through the window, I could see a normal Sunday afternoon in Spokane. Families walking their dogs, kids riding bikes. Ordinary lives. "It's real, Chloe," I said. "As real as the 30 days you've been given to respond." "But Dad, 900,000? That's impossible. You never told me these were loans." I never once said they were gifts either. You assumed. Behind her voice, I heard Hudson pacing, papers rustling, his tone sharp with frustration. Chloe, I said evenly, I need to know something. Who exactly do you think you'll turn to for help with this? The silence stretched until finally she muttered. Family, friends, people who care about me. I see. Well, you've got 29 days left. I suggest you start dialing. And with that, I hung up. I set my phone to silent and let Chloe face the reality I already knew. Nearly $1 million in debt has a way of showing you who's truly in your corner and who quietly disappears. The phone lit up over and over, her name appearing like a distress beacon, then vanishing again. I ignored every call, left every voicemail unheard. By evening, the noise had stopped. Monday morning, there was nothing but silence. No messages, no desperate pleas. I drove out to the construction site where we were breaking ground on a new office building. There's something about physical work that clears my head. The machines moving earth, the smell of dirt, the sense of building something solid that lasts. Around 10, my foreman Dave walked over. Boss, you seem different today. Everything all right? Family situation, I said, watching the excavator dig out the foundation. Sometimes you have to make hard choices for the good of the people you love. Kids, you know how it is. My phone buzzed again. A text from Chloe. Dad, I've been calling everyone I can think of. Nobody believes the number. Please, just talk to me. I deleted it without replying. An hour later, another message. Aunt Alice says she won't step in. She says I need to learn responsibility. What does that even mean? Then another. Maria won't take my calls. Lisa keeps asking why I never worked. Everyone's acting like I'm the problem. By mid-afternoon, more texts arrived. Her college roommate didn't want to get involved. Her sorority sisters were shocked at the amount. The few friends she still had simply couldn't help. Hudson wasn't faring much better. His mother had called 3 times demanding explanations. His father wanted a family meeting about protecting the family name. His brother was pressing him with questions about financial disclosure before marriage. By Tuesday, the picture was clear. Chloe's safety net had collapsed under the weight of nearly $1 million in debt. The same people who had enjoyed her lavish gifts and expensive generosity were nowhere to be found when she needed actual money. Wednesday's message was different. Dad, Hudson's family is talking about annulment. They think the marriage was built on lies. Please call me so we can fix this. I couldn't help but smirk. Hudson's parents had caught on quicker than their son ever did. Thursday, her message was shorter, colder. Nobody will help. Everyone has excuses. Hudson barely talks to me. His parents are pushing him to see a lawyer to protect his assets. I don't understand how everything changed so fast. 25 days left. Chloe was finally learning what independence meant when you'd never bothered to earn it. The education was unfolding exactly as I intended. Friday morning felt different. The phone stayed silent. No texts from Chloe, no pleading voicemails. Just a strange quiet that made me check my phone twice, half wondering if it had stopped working. The real attack came on Monday. Around 9 a.m., my assistant, Rachel, tapped gently on my office door. She stepped in holding a printed email, her expression tight with concern. Mr. Miller, she said. This came in from the Spokane Business Journal. They're asking whether family troubles are interfering with your business. I read the email twice. It was dressed up in professional language, but underneath it were sharp questions about my stability and the way I treated my own daughter. Someone was making calls. Any idea how they got this? I asked. Rachel shook her head. There's more. She handed me her tablet. On the screen was a Facebook post, already shared more than 200 times. Chloe's wedding photo, her looking radiant and perfect in white, sat above a long emotional caption. She painted me as a heartless father who had ruined her wedding day and was now demanding impossible sums of money out of spite. The picture she drew was of a bitter old man bent on punishing his daughter. Hundreds of comments poured in below. Strangers offered sympathy, and plenty of them tagged local business owners I'd known for decades. Then my phone rang. It was Bob Martinez, of Martinez Concrete, a partner I'd worked with for 20 years. David, he said, I'm seeing some troubling things online. People are saying you're fighting with your daughter over wedding bills. Bob, I've got documentation that tells a very different story, I told him. I hope so, he replied. Because I've already had folks asking questions about your city contracts. You know how politics works around here. Within the hour, I had 3 more calls. Each one carefully worded. Each one circling the same question. Was I stable? Was I letting personal problems spill into business? Chloe and Hudson had been working hard. Hudson's playbook was easy enough to spot. His last name carried weight in Spokane's upper circles. The Williams connections stretched across country clubs, charity boards, and professional groups where image mattered more than truth. He and Chloe were leaning hard on that network, spreading her victim's story like wildfire. Local Facebook groups buzzed with twisted versions of the same tale. Construction company owner demands $465,000 from his daughter. Spokane businessman sues his own child over wedding costs. Each retelling grew taller, nastier, and more damaging. By noon, I'd already fielded 7 more business calls, all voicing concern. The Spokane Rotary Club president wanted reassurance about my state of mind before community projects. 3 contractors mentioned hearing rumors that might affect whether they worked with me again. Chloe and Hudson had chosen their battlefield well. In Spokane, reputation isn't just pride, it's currency. Ruin someone's name, and you ruin their livelihood. But they'd overlooked one thing. I drove home and pulled out the binder Alice Montgomery had helped me assemble. 25 years of detailed financial records, neatly categorized and summarized. Every check I'd written, every tuition payment, every car, apartment, and expense Chloe had accepted without question. Then I started dialing. Alice, I said, we need to schedule a press conference tomorrow morning. It's time to go public with the truth. She hesitated. David, once it's out there, you can't pull it back. Chloe and Hudson already went public. Now it's my turn. The next 6 hours were all business. I called the Spokane Business Journal directly, offering full financial transparency. I reached out to the 3 reporters Chloe's story had touched, promising hard evidence that told the real account. Most importantly, I contacted the people who knew me best, 25 years worth of business partners, community leaders, and colleagues who had watched me build Miller Construction brick by brick. Dave, I told my foreman, call every contractor we work with. Tomorrow there's going to be a story, and it's going to clear the record about Chloe. By evening, the pieces were in place. The Spokane Business Journal agreed to run a feature. Local TV stations confirmed they'd cover the press conference. The documentation was copied, organized, and ready. Chloe's smear campaign had lasted 3 days. My answer would take one morning. The truth, laid out with professional records, would drown out gossip and emotional theatrics. 24 days remained on the legal clock. By tomorrow afternoon, Chloe would learn that reputation games are best left to people who actually have reputations worth defending. Tuesday morning landed like clockwork. At exactly 9 o'clock, I released 25 years of financial records across every platform Chloe and Hudson had poisoned with their narrative. The presentation was clean, undeniable. Bank statements showing $937,000 paid over the years. Spreadsheets breaking down education, transportation, housing, lifestyle, all itemized. Photographs of Chloe, smiling at every stage of her life, matched to the payments that had supported that smile. It was complete transparency. The headline read, 25 years of parental support, documented. Beneath it, a timeline that traced Chloe's journey, from grateful daughter to entitled adult. Every dollar accounted for, verified. The reaction came fast. Within an hour, my phone was alive with calls again, but these were different. They weren't about concern, they were about support. David, said Tom Bradley from Bradley Electrical, I had no clue how much you gave that girl. My kids are in college, and I'm spending maybe 15 grand a year. You were paying that every semester. Bob Martinez called back too. David, I owe you an apology. I saw those records. I get it now. That kind of entitlement would wear any parent down. Online, the tide flipped almost instantly. Chloe's supporters suddenly looked naive. Their comments drowned under screenshots of tuition bills for $55,000 a year, receipts for luxury cars, and decades of housing and lifestyle costs most families could never dream of affording. At 11 o'clock, Alice called. David, she said, the response has been extraordinary. By Friday morning, the Spokane Business Journal reached out. They wanted to run a feature about financial responsibility and entitlement. Apparently, I had managed to turn what was meant to be a reputation attack into a lesson for the entire community. By noon, Chloe's original Facebook post looked weak against the mountain of evidence I had presented. People were sharing my documentation with comments like, "This is what real parental sacrifice looks like. No wonder he's asking for repayment. That's a full-time commitment." The local construction community rallied behind me completely. Contractors who had questioned my stability were now sharing stories of my work ethic and integrity. Even the Rotary Club president issued a public statement supporting my position. The mayor's office added a comment about the importance of financial responsibility in family matters. Dave texted from the construction site, "Boss, the crew is talking about your situation. Everyone's behind you. Nobody can believe what Chloe put you through." Local news stations picked up the story as a human interest piece on parental sacrifice and accountability. The evidence made their jobs easy. They only had to report the facts and let viewers draw their own conclusions. Chloe's attack had spectacularly backfired. Her victim narrative couldn't survive contact with 25 years of documented financial reality. The community that had briefly doubted me was now questioning her. Hudson's family connections had turned against them. Their social circle now saw exactly what kind of people they had welcomed and what those people were capable of. The Williams family's credibility, once a shield, was being used to spread lies about a respected businessman who had simply told the truth. By evening, the story had completely reversed. Chloe and Hudson were no longer victims of a cruel father. They were entitled adults attacking a generous parent when he finally set boundaries. Every bank statement was a chapter in 25 years of sacrifice. Every receipt was proof of love taken for granted. My phone buzzed with a text from Chloe. "Dad, please take down those financial records. People are saying terrible things about us." I deleted it without replying. 23 days remained on the legal clock. The lesson was almost complete. Wednesday morning, 6:47 a.m. Hudson's phone rang, jolting both of us from uneasy sleep. The hotel room felt smaller with each passing minute, weighed down by social media backlash, catastrophe, and financial pressure. "This is your father," his voice said over the speaker, sharp and unmistakable. "We need to talk. Right now." Chloe watched as Hudson's face went pale while listening. His answers were short, defensive. "Yes, I understand the implications." "No, I didn't know the full extent of the documentation. This is more complicated than we thought." 12 minutes later, Hudson hung up and stared at his phone for a long moment before speaking. "My family wants me home today." "Home?" Chloe echoed, panic rising. "Temporary," he said, his voice final in a way she'd never heard. "My father got calls yesterday from 3 different business partners asking about our family issues. The country club is buzzing with gossip about the Williams and financial fraud." "Fraud?" Chloe scoffed. "It's just a family dispute gone too far." Hudson began packing with angry, sharp movements, throwing clothes into his suitcase. "Your father published bank records showing almost $1 million in support you never acknowledged," he said. "To my family, that looks like deception at best, manipulation at worst." Chloe felt her chest tighten, cold panic seeping in. "You're leaving? We just got married 6 days ago." "6 days?" Hudson's packing became more aggressive. "I have a trust fund, Chloe. Business prospects. A future that depends on maintaining relationships." "What about our relationship? Our vows?" she asked, desperate. He stopped and looked at her directly for the first time since the call. "What marriage? You brought me into a financial disaster without warning. Your father is demanding nearly $1 million back, and you have no way to pay. My family lawyer says I have to protect myself from liability." "Liability," she repeated, stunned. "I'm your wife." "You're a financial burden with no assets and massive debt," he said. The words hit her like punches. "My family cannot afford to be linked to this level of scandal." Chloe's phone, silent for days, buzzed with a text from Hudson's mother. "Chloe, dear, Hudson needs to come home. Family obligations, you understand." The politeness made it sting even more. Even Hudson's mother, who had praised Chloe's grace and beauty at the wedding, was cutting ties with surgical precision. "Hudson, please," Chloe pleaded. "We can work through this together. My father is angry, but he loves me. This will blow over." "Chloe, look around," Hudson said, gesturing to her laptop still open to a torrent of devastating social media comments. "This isn't blowing over. Your father published 25 years of financial records. People are calling you a trust fund baby who never worked a day in her life." The accusation stung because it was true. Chloe had never held a job longer than 6 months. never contributed financially to her own life, never questioned where her comfortable lifestyle came from. She had been, in her mind, simply being a daughter she assumed would always be supported, not to the tune of nearly $1 million over 25 years without gratitude or reciprocation. Hudson zipped his suitcase shut. My family runs in circles where people contribute to society, build businesses, support charities, create value. What have you ever created besides expenses? Chloe felt something break inside her chest. Not just her marriage, but her sense of herself and her place in the world. Where will I go? She whispered. I have no money for a hotel. My credit cards are maxed. Everyone had stopped talking to me. Hudson paused at the door, hand on the handle. Call your father, he said. Apologize. Accept responsibility. Maybe he'll help you figure out how to become an actual adult. Hudson, please, I whispered. Don't leave me alone. I've been alone in this marriage since day one, he said quietly. You never contributed anything but expectations and expenses. His voice softened slightly. Maybe losing everything will teach you something. Your father's money never could. The door closed behind him with a finality that made the hotel room feel enormous and empty. My wedding dress still hung in the closet, a ghostly reminder of 6 days that had upended my entire life. No husband, no family support, no friends, no money. For the first time in 28 years, I was completely alone. I picked up my phone, scrolling to a number I hadn't dialed since that desperate Saturday. My father's name appeared on the screen like a lifeline I wasn't sure I deserved to grab. 22 days to find almost $1 million I didn't have, to rebuild relationships I had destroyed, to become someone I'd never been before. I dialed. The phone rang once before his calm, familiar voice answered. Hello, Chloe. No warmth, no cruelty. Just quiet acknowledgement that I was finally calling after losing everything. Dad, I said, voice broken, barely a whisper. I don't know where to start. Start with the truth, he said. Do you understand what happened this week? I looked around the hotel room, at Hudson gone, at my laptop still open to hundreds of comments condemning me. The weight of 28 years of thoughtless entitlement hit me like a collapsing building. I lost everything, I said. My husband left me this morning. His family has cut me off completely. I don't have money for tonight's hotel bill. My voice cracked. Everyone hates me. Do you understand why? He asked. The question hung there like a challenge. For 28 years, I had blamed others for my problems. Excuses. Someone else responsible for every consequence. Not this time. Because I treated you like a bank account instead of a person. Because I never appreciated what you sacrificed for me. Because I was selfish, entitled, and cruel. Silence stretched between us. I could hear him breathing, taking in my words. Go on, he said. I saw the financial records you published, I admitted. $900,000 over 25 years. I never asked where the money came from. Never thanked you properly. Never considered what you gave up to provide for me. Tears fell freely, the first genuine tears since this nightmare began. I dismissed you from your own wedding, a wedding you paid for entirely. What else? I tried to ruin your reputation when you stood up to me. I lied about you on social media. I got Hudson's family to spread rumors about your character. Speaking the truth out loud felt like draining poison from a wound. I became everything wrong with spoiled children who never grow up. His voice softened. Chloe, remember when you were 8, after your mother died? You hugged me every night and told me I was the best daddy in the world. I remember, I whispered. I wanted to give you everything because I loved you. But somewhere along the way, giving you everything became the reason you stopped loving me back. I never stopped loving you, Dad. I stopped showing it. I stopped being grateful. I stopped being a daughter and became a consumer. What do you want from me now? The question terrified me. It wasn't just about money. It was about whether our relationship could exist at all. I want to earn your respect. I want to become the daughter you deserve. I want to learn how to be an adult who contributes instead of just taking. I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand. But first, I need help surviving long enough to prove I can change. What kind of help? Enough money to stay in the hotel for a week while I find a job. Any job. I need a chance to support myself. If I help you, there will be conditions, he said. Anything. You'll find employment within 2 weeks. I don't care if it's cleaning offices or waiting tables. Pride is a luxury you can no longer afford. I understand. No financial requests for 6 months. You live on what you earn. Yes, we'll talk once a week, but as two adults, not parent and dependent. I want that. I want to earn the right to be your daughter again. I'm going to transfer $1,000 to your account. That covers a week of hotel and basic groceries. After that, you're on your own. Dad, thank you. I know I don't deserve it. You're right. You don't deserve it. But everyone deserves one chance to grow up, even at 28. His voice carried both sternness and hope. I've always loved you. Now I want to see if I can respect you too. I won't let you down. Not again. We'll see. Love you, sweetheart. The call ended. For the first time in a week, I felt something other than despair. Not relief exactly, but possibility. The chance to become someone worth respecting. 21 days to prove I could change. A lifetime to earn back what I had thrown away. I opened my laptop and started searching for jobs in Spokane. Every entry-level position felt intimidating to someone who had never really worked, but intimidating was better than impossible. For the first time in my life, I was going to earn something myself. The education had finally begun.